get introduced, once again, a little bit more in depth, of Minty's character. That is her nickname. That is what I'm calling her. Because I want to say Minith, but other people say different things. So her nickname is Minty. Okay? We are introduced to Minty, who is a nymph that Hades associates with. Which I want to talk about real quick. Does it feel weird that he referred to her like that and didn't exactly want to confirm that he was in a relationship, or perhaps was even embarrassed to admit that he was in a relationship because he probably thought that he was going to hook up with this young lady at this moment? Which is a form of cheating which we know is a relationship.
Go ahead. I wanted to point out with that what you mentioned. The couple panels I do see, like the first one, who is Minth? And I feel like this is in Hades' mind, because as soon as you see the question pop up, you see this dark cloud, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we see panels of their relationship, which clearly it looks like mainly sexual. And the first thing we hear out of her mouth is, "You're a real piece of shit." So the first thing he thinks about with Minty isn't anything endearing. It's just her being callous. And then I think that's what also affected his decision to say, oh, it's just a nymph that we associate with. Because as we get further into the chapter, we'll see what type of specific dynamic that they have. But yes, you are also right. He instantly lied. He tried to cover it up, and it sounded embarrassed about it, in hopes that he could maybe progress in this little thing that's blossoming with Persephone.
Simone?
I never thought of it that way. That he possibly is like trying to run game on this girl in a Hades way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like there is a sense of like shame or secrecy, just in it's not on his terms. Sadly, they're on men's terms. So like I don't know. I feel like it's more of a like business like transaction, like business deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like he buys her things, and she satisfies him, but like doesn't. It's not. It's just intimacy. There's no like love in it. But of course, we're beings, and so emotions are involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's used to. I would maybe assume that he's used to this type of treatment as either being forgotten or like lost or just not feeling important. So he's gonna accept that. He's used to feeling that way. So why not keep doing it? That's such a toxic, like terrible.
Off-rip. Yeah.
Actually,
that's a very good point.
He instantly thinks, like, he instantly knows as soon as I pick up the phone, it's going to be possibly bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
versus this thing I have right now, it feels really good. So I'm just going to leave that right now and just deal with it later. So it kind of felt like an instant fight or flight
Yeah.
response.
You know, one of the things that I noticed too is when the cloud comes up and it says, "Who is Minty?" We see them looking at each other, and I feel like hate in between their eyes, frustration and anger. And then when she calls him a real piece of shit, he's crying.
It says, "I know."
Like,
How many times?
bro, like this, oh my God, which goes into my next question, which some of us have already answered, of what vibe are you getting off them? And I'm not quite sure the type of relationship that this is. We all know that it's toxic off rip. But is this a boyfriend/girlfriend? Is this a sugar baby/sugar daddy relationship? And I see that Minty is dominating in the aspect of the relationship, and that Hades is just kind of here, you know? Which concerns me because when I reread this, I was like, okay, let's put aside what we know and focus on this interaction. Now, I'm not saying I get this vibe off of it, but people who are in the kink world, some people like humiliation, degradation, and being belittled. I don't necessarily get that vibe from this, but if this is a type of relationship that they have, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, how can I dislike her so much already if this is something that could be a norm for them? Because if this is just a sexual relationship, from what we're seeing from this panel, who's to say that those other aspects are not coming into play?
It's a good point. Like, from what we've just seen in two panels with, what her calling him a name and he's saying, I know, it seems like it's not only a pre-established, thing with their relationship. It sounds like he is used to that type of treatment elsewhere. So it's something and it's also something he's used to. It seems like, even though it does hurt him, we do a lot of things that we know hurt us, but we do it anyway for any type of, whether it's intimacy or, transactions, like I need money. We do a lot of stuff that goes against what we need. And you could even see that further down the panels, when Mint is screaming in the phone, and Persephone instantly says, "You mean she's your lover?" And that even brings up his feelings towards being called, how you and your brothers are known for your many sordid affairs.
Basically, she called y'all horse.
Yeah, you're a whore.
You're a whore.
So isn't that your lover? And he's just like, if only you could see. I mean, yeah, but
no, fuck.
I don't you're not right, but you're right.
He couldn't even say nothing to her.
Internal screaming.
Simone, how about you?
Listen. His brothers are messing it up for him in so many ways. We've already seen it. And it just seems very platonic, and just it's also just very beautiful, the connections that you may have with a total stranger and the conversations you have.
Feels like, yeah, with a stranger, it feels very natural.
Yes.
What a stranger interaction would be if put in this type of situation. It's very awkward already. So the fact that they're playing this off very well, off rip, you can see they're like each other, very different, but like each other.
And I did love that panel where she goes, "Oh my God, why did I just say that? I need to find a filter." And he's like, "My stupid brothers aren't even here." And all right, guys, it's Kala, and
this is Euphoria.
We had a technical difficulty where our audio cut out at a particular part when we started talking about Minty. That's what we're going to call her in this panel. Minty. Okay. So we left off on a part where Hades gets a text from her, and Persephone goes, "Who is Minty?" And this is when we get a flashback of who she is in the relationship that they have. So, do you want to go first?
We do see a couple of glimpses just from a couple panels of what this relationship is. Seems very toxic already, very transactional, very sexual. And the first thing that we see come out of her mouth is, "You're a real piece of shit." And Hades saying, "I know." So we already know that this is a routine, and
this is a system that's been the norm for them for quite some time.
And you can even see that he gets a little scared when that happens. Like, oh shit, I kind of know what's going to happen as soon as I answer that phone. So I'm going to just quickly divert
very quickly.
Yeah.
Which, one of the things that we talked about in there was the fact that he diverted so quickly from that and trying to turn left because he wanted to hook up with Persephone. Now, at this point, we know that they're a thing, but we don't know the official dynamic and title of this relationship. And it is kind of scummy for him not to fully admit what that was.
Yes. At the same time, we see two very down. It seems like downed people, like very just low people in their lives that are just fishing for whatever they can get out of the other person. So very, like I said, transactional at first, and what he did was very shitty too.
Yeah, which I don't remember if I said it or not, but I think I thought this when I was typing the script was one of the things that concerned me is that he was crying during that exchange.
Yeah.
You've seen the tears. He was crying.
So is that like a degrading kink? I really
Don't
think
know.
so.
I don't think so. At first I tried to maybe go, this could be their relationship, but I just don't get that vibe.
Well, right on the next panel, she even screams in the voicemail, and she even says, "Hey, asshat, stop sulking." So she's assuming that he's sulking from the night before when she didn't even go to the party, which, we didn't even...
Yeah, and if you think about it, this has to be a routine for her. And it's one of those things where this is abuser 101.
Yeah. This
cycle,
routine
this routine of I feel like she loves bomb him, and then it goes back into being problematic and making him feel low as she says and does these things because she knows that he's gonna come right back to it.
Yeah, just from a couple chapters, 2 or 3 chapters of seeing Minth and their dynamic, and like even flashbacks of what Hades thinks of who is Minth. It's kind of very telling, and I liked how Rachel kind of portrayed that, and it was just small. It's like small couple panels. It says a lot
about them
about
and
a relationship that we are also looking into with fresh eyes. So we just gotta stay tuned for that.
Which, buckle up, baby, because this bitch is finna be a lot.
Yeah. You can already tell.
Yeah, you can already tell she's gonna be a fucking problem. So buckle up, guys, because she doesn't go away for quite some chapters. All right, so that's all. That's the voiceover. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Fucking this up already.
Yeah, I love their, their internal dialogue.
Yes.
So cute in that it's right by each other. You can tell where their priorities are, what they're telling themselves what to do. Stop. You're being weird.
Weird, yeah. And I did love where he was like, okay, this is how I can save this. Do I look like a scoundrel to you? By the way, I would have folded like a bent back paperclip if that man looked at me like that. I'd be like, no.
I later on she red eyes.
Them eyes.
I even just needed the red eyes just to add to it.
Right? Just...
And seeing that alpha power, I guess.
It's kind of like a test. Kind of testing her a bit.
And I loved how she, yes, actually.
Yeah, you 30%.
30%. And he bounced back. That's fair. You'll have to let me know when my scoundrel percentage increases. And, go ahead.
I was just gonna say sometimes. I was just like, ooh. And then just kind of like that, it's just bubbling up in me like that, like, ooh, girl, he trying to see you, he trying to, like, like, get all, like, I start blushing and whatnot, and I was like, ooh, this ain't even me, no, but I feel it.
I feel it too.
I felt all of that. I also love how now we get to see how when she asked him, like, this is really awkward. How did I get here? And he explains it. And he just got in his car and she was there. And we saw in the previous chapters how he carried her in and was so gentle and sweet to her. And Persephone is automatically embarrassed because she's like, oh my God, you're really busy and I'm just me. And, thanks for putting up with me. That's super embarrassing, but I'm going to play it super nice. The last thing you need this is where that self-doubt and deprecation comes from. You don't need some amateur goddess barging in on your Sunday morning. And you can even see how he looks at her and goes, he wants to say amateur goddess.
Like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Like, don't talk about yourself like that. But you can't say anything because you also talk about yourself like that, Hades. And that next panel of them is so cute together. And when he says, I would pay a salary for you to barge into every aspect of my life. Right? We stand. If a man don't talk about you like that, throw him away.
Also, by the way, is that foreshadowing?
That. Very much that. And you see he wants to say it, but he catches himself. And he's like, get it together. Don't say that. And I love how he thought he was finna tap that in that kitchen.
Yeah, very much, actually. Sir.
When she drops the coat and his eyes go from black to red. And he's, by the way, again, would have folded. I have to warn you, there's no blinds in this kitchen and my neighbors are super nosy.
Can we talk about with that, like, there are, like, although he is a gentleman, he's still a man.
Mm-hmm.
And he's seeing this beautiful little plump cinnamon roll, and he's just like instantly like, oh, let me warn you, like, there's no blinds and there's like nothing. Like, you want this? And she's like, no. What are you talking about? My hair.
My hair. Like, why do they care? And he catches this on button and goes, right. Sure. That's what I meant.
So I thought that was very cute. It delves more into their personality. Like, he is, like, he's a gentleman, but he's also, like, playful. He's, like, snarky when he needs to be. He's, like, and so is Persephone. So, like, the whole back and forth thing, I like it because it just melds well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tennis match that's really good.
And we do get the confirmation that her powers are affected by her mood. Because, he asked about her hair. And she's like, yeah, I've been having problems with my powers lately. It's been like a stressful 24 hours. That's why my hair is so long. I also love how now we get to see more of her snappy personality by saying, by the way, you haven't introduced yourself at all the entire time we've been talking. 31%.
Boom, 1%.
And he's like, what? Like, first off, you know who I am. Why do I have to tell you who I am? You know who I am.
He gets upset. Like, how dare you not know who I am?
And now she's like 32%.
Can we talk about how instantly when he gets upset, that's like the ego flare? How dare you? Like, how do you not know?
Mm-hmm.
I am the king
of the underworld. Like, everybody knows who I am. Why do I have to introduce myself?
But I love how she persists because, like, just because you're you're in a high class doesn't mean, like, we lose, respect and everything. Like, introduce yourself. Like, that's, base respect.
Mm-hmm. And the exchange of the business cards was also great because when he sees her card, he's like, it's barely legible, teasing her very lightly. And she's trying to fight back and he's grabbing her up, as she tries to make her way and snatch the card back. And seeing them be that close together and play fight, kind of. And when he pulls her in really, really close, unknowingly pulls her in that close, again, would have folded.
I mean, there are many times.
Many times in this whole exchange, I would have busted down like a cork.
Ma'am.
I'm so serious. This a waterfall.
I mean, we could even even tell Persephone feels the same way. She bites her lip.
Uh-huh.
And I like how she straightens it out by constantly asking and reaffirming the situation. But and he's saying what's wrong because he instantly knows, oh, something's up.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask, and she's just like, this situation, although I don't like mind the interaction we're in, I'm scared that I may have like pissed somebody off.
Mm-hmm.
Was it me? Like, and then you see the insecurities.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah.
Because I pinned two goddesses together while one of them was in the same close proximity as me.
Dummy.
You dummy. You dummy. And Aphrodite, no less. Aphrodite.
Yup, and he's the shame look.
Mm-hmm.
And then her like, oh my god, no you didn't. Against Aphrodite.
Aphrodite. All right, guys. So, any more things to talk about in this chapter?
Somebody in the comments was like, he thought they were gonna F in the kitchen. Oh, he a hoe.
Exactly.
But remember, she called him and his brother some horse.
He got mad, but I mean, that's a for sure call out. It's true.
Yeah, and once again, a man being a man. Putting her and Aphrodite against each other. Which when she started to laugh, did anyone else feel a little bad when he said, I know I might not be your type, but you don't have to laugh?
Yeah, that's an instant shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
Also, considering, so a little tidbit, understand this very well, because there's a period of time, not that Persephone's going through it, but like dating was awkward. Some men, they would come up to me and they'd be like, hey, like you, you're cute, and then 30 minutes later there would be a whole joke. So there's that thing of, you're just playing with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he looks at her like, you really think my stupid comment that I put myself in danger for was all for naught. And I think it's a great look into how women, or just non-men, we self-reflect so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't possibly like be the only thing that you were looking at. I mean, above Aphrodite, goddess of beauty. Like, you're tripping.
Yeah.
And he's like, why would I be tripping about that?
And in the next panel, you see that I can tell she's not laughing at him, but she's laughing about the statement. Because she follows it up and goes, you're hilarious. I know you're just trying to make me feel better, but it's not like you'd be stupid enough to compare two goddesses together.
Like, you wouldn't use that, right?
You're not that stupid, right? And he's like, yeah.
I like how it was a call out.
And she continues and goes, because, you have to be an idiot to do that. You're not that fucking dumb, right, buddy? And he's like, a complete idiot, so crazy.
Even the king of the underworld could do something that idiotic.
And I love where you see that panel of that pink light right above her head. It's beautiful. Now,
Showering in the moment.
right? Now, Cordon Bleu enters the chat. And just like a small dog, being a small dog, being aggressive. And
He says, huh?
she's confused because the big dog caved. This little cute, white, fluffy thing won't let me touch it.
I never saw this before. but I kind of feel like before he names his beautiful list of doggos, that the difference between Cordon Bleu and Cerberus is kind of like
being a small dog. And now that you brought that up, I didn't think about that parallel. Because knowing what we know about Persephone in later chapters, that's a good thing to bring up. This cute little fluff white ball is a cloud of pure rage.
woke up to violence.
He chooses violence every time he wakes up. And I love how he pulls her in, swoops her off her feet, literally. And she's like, what the fuck is his problem? He's like, troubled childhood. Let's just say he has an only child syndrome. Let's put it like that.
Another foreshadowing?
Mm-hmm. And I love this. We need to stop doing this at this point. You know, me snatching you up and you in my arms and things, girl, because you can't keep doing that. And, you know, you're going to get me in trouble, girl.
And speaking of, we go later and she asks, so speaking of these doggos, aren't you gonna, introduce me? Tell me? And it, from just 2 panels, you see the first one where his eye is red.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, fear at first, because it looks like from his face, nobody's really asked. That's, a question that's, rarity. Let's see.
I agree. To see that, to go from shock to happiness, because I'm gonna even say it, I don't think Minty has taken anything about his life into consideration. I don't even think that she's asked. And if that's the only romantic parallel we have this sweet little pink cinnamon roll right here asking about his life. And any pet owner, your pet are your children.
Yep.
Oh, don't come for me, Karens. Don't come for me, moms. Okay, I said what I said.
They're instantly a part of you and your family.
This is all he has, is these dogs. And to have someone take interest in his life and his children, it means a lot. Look at that smile, that genuine smile. And then to see him go from, let's see, and he breaks them all down. And once again, we get a glimpse into his personality just by him introducing his dogs.
It's cute. Each panel with each dog, you could tell all the care he puts into each one.
And seeing each dog's personality.
Yes.
You know, and I love the scene where this is the business Hades. Let them unionize. See if I care.
While washing
his dog. While washing a fudge who looks like a Cocker Spaniel. And he's just like, I don't give a damn.
And then him holding Big John. Look at this big dog.
And I gotta carry him around like a baby.
It just shows that he takes very good care of each one. He knows each of their personalities. And it was a huge light up moment. Probably nobody's ever asked him.
And that genuine smile from Persephone. And even though STD walking brother of his interrupts, and he calls and he's like, are you all set for brunch this morning? And he's like, I don't have time to come to your stupid brunch. I'm dealing with the hot girl in my kitchen, playing with my dogs. I don't have time for you.
Why would I want
to come
to ditch this?
To go sit with you and talk about your random hookups. I don't want to deal with this. He's dealing with something extremely important. And I love how you see Persephone pick up Cordon Bleu and he's not happy.
He's like, no.
He's like, get off me. And to see Zeus go, family brunch is mandatory. And we see that only syndrome, and you just see these thunders, and I'm pretty sure he even heard it through the phone of cracking of thunder. You know, and he gets called out. You two brothers, and you still act like you have only child syndrome.
Yes, I think this is the first time we see Zeus kind of throw his, like, authority. Like, it's a family thing. It's brothers. They have a right to either go or not, even though he says it's mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, nobody else's stuff is important right now. I'm Zeus. It's mandatory. Get your ass here. So we start to see, even in just like 2 or 3 panels, how Zeus is even with the closest people to him.
Mm-hmm.
Still very authoritative, controlling. He even says, thanks to you in 20.
Because he's used to getting what he wants.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, I would have been 20 minutes late on purpose. And we see that Persephone's been all over Cordon Bleu with all those little kisses. And he... Right? It reminds me of Beerus. Like, Beerus doesn't like to be kissed or, like, picked up, but he wants all the attention, but on his time.
On his time, on his own.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's worse about it, though. I can't even cap to you.
My baby has anxiety.
Yes, he does, and he's an attention whore.
At the same time.
And now we see that he's taking her home. And that damn paparazzi.
They look good though.
Don't they?
Don't they?
Don't they? If that's not a power couple, I don't know what is.
They weren't even a couple yet, and they stepping out
Out
from,
like that?
a red carpet.
I'm not gonna lie, every time I see them together and like they're just like the outfits are just getting, I'm just like, what can I put my boyfriend in?
Right.
That looks similar to this. So we were just too late.
Yeah.
She's even wearing like the thing from the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And all she has is just this like coat. Boom.
Boom.
It works.
It works.
It's-
She don't even have to try.
She don't even have to try. That's effortless right there. That's energy. That's we stand. Any closing thoughts on this chapter?
Other than them being so cute. No.
Simone?
Nothing.
Okay.
The beginning.
That. That.
But like just steps closer to more chaotic, just energy.
How different.
But I mean, he's the god of wealth.
Very true.
So he has to, you know, for the Insta, he has to drip.
Yes. That's that splash. And I love that panel, even the first two, where she's like, do you own enough cars? I'm not sure. And to see that teasing personality come out again. That cute, playful flirtiness. And to see him snap back and go, do you want to walk? Because that's what it sounds like.
You can do that.
You can walk. You don't have to get in my car.
And he thought he got her until he was like, can I drive? No.
That delighted wiggle.
But look at it. Absolutely not. Oh, but look at that cinema roll.
And where is she? Behind the wheel.
She's a brat.
Mm-hmm.
This is instant, like, brat type of energy.
That. You're gonna give me what I want one way or another.
Like, and I'm gonna use.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cute. Like, this is a powerful god, and he folds.
And I just want to bring up this quick parallel. He said only he drives his car. How do you think Minty would react if she saw her driving his car?
I don't know.
Ooh, can you imagine?
Better than she already is.
I don't know.
That would have been a sight to see. If the paparazzi got her driving his car instead of them walking out together, can you even imagine the rage? And you see she's not a good driver. But
Nope.
honestly, that's me. I can't cap.
I don't drive for a reason.
That. And I love where he's like saying something smart. And she puts her whole hand in his face and goes, shh, I need a positive navigator.
I don't need that negativity
Like,
right now.
did you just shush me in my own car? I am a king. I am god of the underworld, and you shushed me?
There's that ego flaring again. Like, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, which is perfect for giving me directions. Can you, like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool. It has to be like emphasized.
As hell.
And I do love, like, Persephone's energy of, I don't care about your status.
Why would that be
A thing to me.
right?
I don't care.
And I think, like, without realizing it, Hades likes that. Like, it's a surprise to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody else that he would interact with, of course it's about his status, you know? Versus this one person who just woke up in his house, and they've been going back and forth for a couple hours, and she's just like, yeah, I don't really care about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it kind of flips him on his head, you know? It's like, wow, well, there's a person that doesn't care.
Mhm.
It hurts my pride a little bit.
A lot, but...
But that's weird. Like, I like that. I can be myself.
To be treated as a person and not a status quo does make a big difference with how you interact with people. I mean, think about it. You have a CEO of a company who's well known. And all over the world, when he's talked about, it's Elon Musk. The creator of whatever. I don't really know what Elon Musk actually does. I ain't gonna front. I think, is it Tesla? It's Tesla, right? Okay.
I don't know, but he should be super smart. Like, he's a genius.
Yeah, and
He's weird.
that a lot of people talk about his weirdness. But it's like someone like Elon Musk. The first thing you hear is the person who created Tesla, this genius, this affirmation. He can walk in a room and have people kiss his feet because of who he is in the status quo. That's everything to someone, you know? And to have a person, and we see this a lot with people who are rich and famous. When you get to that point where people are screaming out your name and praising you and taking pictures of you all the time, and it begins to be too much because there's this shift of real person and status. So when you get treated like a normal person just for 5 minutes even can make a big difference to those people, because they're like, wow, this person isn't groveling on the ground or saying things that they'll know will make me happy just so they can get something at the end of the day. This person is genuinely treating me like a normal person.
For the first
time.
I'm
It's
not
refreshing.
considered-
Yeah.
I'm not considered a commodity.
You know, I'm not some traveling pony show.
Exactly. Oh, well, yeah, speaking of, it kind of reminds me of, like, this dilemma, like, I heard with the Olsen twins,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of status to fame and so young, and how it can affect people later in their lives, that they feel a disconnection. Like, the Olsen twins, they are very secluded now. They hate cameras. It brings them anxiety, versus their sister, who has now been in, like, these, like, huge multi-million-dollar movies. It puts into perspective, like, a choice of fame and fortune, or was this brought on to me, you know, and I have to play the part.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even to still bounce off that, like, even though she is my goddess, Beyonce, you know, there is a point where we don't treat her as a person. It's Beyonce. It's the most awarded person in history, following Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston, and we're gonna bombard her with pictures and camera to the point where she can walk in a room and everyone in the room is gonna stand up and clap for an hour.
sneezing.
For her sneezing. She could blink and they'd be like, oh my God, like round of applause. Like, you're not a person. You're not a mother of three. You're this. You're the entertainer, and that's all we're going to see you as, and that's what we're going to treat you as. So when you do human things, you are looked at as a commodity to go, wow, you really enjoy these things? You're just like me. Well, of course she's just like you. She's a person.
Yeah,
Just
celebrities who come out with their opinions as far as politics go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. Like when people are just like, shut up and dribble.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're an entertainer, you're a singer, you don't know anything about policies or anything like that. Well, that person is a person. No matter how famous they are, they still have views.
And just like later chapters, we see that Hades is affected by the rumor mill a lot, which affects how he's treated by everybody. Super unfair. But now let's move forward before we go too far deep off the deep end. Is the tour of the underworld. We finally get to see what it looks like.
You know, I'm a sucker for cyberpunk neons. To me, whereas somebody would be like, yeah, it's like what he's used to. People would say it's cold or there's no sunlight or anything like that. But Persephone, she's just like, wow, neon lights. And like later, I think she's like, they look like little stars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like a night sky. I just think it was really cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful panel and a good parallel. You know, like the underworld, I feel like people think that it just looks like chaos. You know, like there's no organization. It's just a mess. It's dark. It's broody. It's ugly. It's the underworld. No one wants to go to the underworld, you know? And she does ask, how come it's always night all the time? And he goes, because I don't want that shitty little sun god in my neck of the woods.
I don't need that.
I don't need that. I don't know how you ladies tolerate him. And
is that like the first introduction?
That is the first introduction about Apollo. And she's like, I've never met him. And he goes, you will. And you should mentally prepare yourself to be annoyed. And she should mentally prepare herself for the bullshit that comes forward.
Yeah, the fact that Hades, like, even though this is from Hades' perspective, it is very telling. Because Apollo, like the gods that ruled the sea, the sky, and the underworld, he's very popular in lore too. Apollo is the sun god. He brings medicine, also, and illness, and music. So to hear his interpretation, you're just like, oh, I wonder why that is for someone who is supposed to represent light and life, you know?
Yeah,
I
which
wonder what's to come.
also, boo, you suck. Apollo, you suck. And for the people who probably have gotten very far and read who know, or this is again someone's first interaction to this, you will see why we say that much later. Actually, not much later. I think in the next couple chapters, the next 5 episodes after this one, we get the introduction to him in person. But now we see that she's home. And that last little bit of flirting made me very happy. It was very cute. And he looks like he wants to say more. And then you see this purple, angry...
Sounds like a mom.
Right? Purple, angry, vicious, murdering mom. Artemis. Artemis pops up and slams, boom, straight on his car.
Yeah, can we talk about no, like, care for other people's property? She, like, that even is telling of her character. Slams right on Hades' car, and she's demanding him not to do anything.
It's just like, you get out of this pervert's car this instant. I'm watching you. And he's like, I didn't even do anything.
I didn't even. Why are you doing this?
And honestly, that reminds me of Euphoria. That reminds me of your personality. Like, that's how you would handle a situation if I know I was in Cora's shoes. You wouldn't give a damn. You would bust out and go, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of the car. Get in the house.
me and Artemis, we're very close with that. Like, overprotective. I don't know you. You're with someone that I do know. And I hear stuff, which also delves into her, like, slights of judgmental mentality. This also delves into what Kala mentioned about the rumors that do sometimes affect Hades, and because of his brothers.
The horse.
So instantly, if there's a girl in a car, if there's a woman in a car, we gotta save her.
Yeah.
But it was still a sweet ending. I think it feels like a parallel to like a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like, oh, we gotta stop that. The friend is like, honey, no, he's bad for you.
The typical tropes of
like, no, goodbye, pervert.
And I did love that scene where he's like, she's leaving. I need to look at her one more time. I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Star is Born. Have you?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen snippets. It's too sad.
Yeah, I know. The one with Lady Gaga in it. And there's a scene. Girl, you gonna cry. Be prepared. Save that for like a good day where you really need to cry. But there's a scene where, just like this, he is dropping her off at her house, and she's walking away, and he's like, he calls her by her name, and she turns around, and she goes, what? And he goes, I just had to look at you one more time.
Can we also say he said her name?
Mm-hmm.
Cora. Like, everybody else has been saving Persephone. So what's a good strategy to get her attention?
Cora.
I made you look.
And I love that scene where she snatches herself away from Artemis and goes, 20%.
Bye.
Bye. And like a nerdy little boy, again, he is cheesing like a teenager. Goodbye.
He even stands there until Artemis slams the door, and even stands there as long as he can before he has to go back into his mundane,
Regularly scheduled bullshit program.
Yep. So that's very cute. I like how the art represents the longing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not longing of like, it's a cute like love thing, but I feel like for Hades, that was like the first time he had a real type of like interaction other than job and dog. So it was longing for like being with someone. It wasn't lonely. And as soon as the door shut,
we're back to being lonely.
Yep.
All right, guys. Any closing thoughts and opinions on this chapter?
The art.
Rachel is doing a phenomenal job. She always has.
The art is beautiful. Like, Underworld is beautiful. How can you make the Underworld beautiful?
The art is one of my favorite things, and that's why I kept reading, is because it was so beautiful and the story was so good. I love what Rachel is setting up. I love how she's telling a story. I love how she can tell you so much about these characters and relationships with no words and just the picture.
Yeah, if you take away the words,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you could even just, she does a real good job with expression. I was even going to mention before, even going out of the underworld and going to, is it Olympus?
Mm-hmm.
Those red colors at the, next panel when the car is driving out, how it was swallowed at the corner at the bottom. And then you see it's not like any yellows or um I like how it just feels like otherworldly. We know this setting very well because it's city. Um, but I feel like I'm also looking at through Persephone's eyes too. That's all I got to say.
Simone?
The art will always be phenomenal. I think just going back after reading, further, just the like improvement in the art, but not to say that in a way that like the art was terrible. It's just different how she kind of went from like things being more like sketched out to them being more like spray paint, like softer in a way. So I'm amazed. I would never think to do something like this. But yeah, it's just nice to witness and read. Yeah.
Okay. My closing thoughts is, again, the art. Jesus, girl. Like, you can't do this to me. You can't give me this hot fire because it's hard for me to go back and read certain things. But one of the things that sticks out to me, even in this chapter and like the story that we've read so far, I wish that I read something like this when I was younger, because what we had, you remember Wattpad? You remember those toxic ass love stories and how everything was handled, being very sex driven, but in a negative way. Even romances were handled in negative ways. Just to see this and how this is being handled, I feel like this will do a lot of young girls and boys and non-binaries, however you choose to identify, a lot of good, because it's nice to see something handled in a positive way and dealt with and talked about in a way where it engages conversation. You can still call things out, talk about toxic traits, talk about the positive, different aspects of relationships from people to family to friends, and how it's handled and how a lot of us can relate to that without it being such, I shouldn't say such, without it being too romanticized. A lot of stories, yeah, they romanticize certain things, and we don't really get to see the work it takes, because it's love bombing, toxic, love bombing, toxic, boom, story's over.
Always called, like Greek tragedies.
Yeah.
So.
We don't get to see that buildup of certain things. Like, there's tragic parts of this story on both sides and through many different characters, but how it's being handled and reworking the idea of trauma and culture shock and independence and being out on your own, first time out in the world, dealing with love, dealing with feelings and different relationships, is being handled in such a way that I think it's going to do a lot more good and be more impactful way down the line, probably about 5-10 years from now. People are going to talk about this story and say, this is what it meant to me, and it's a cultural phenomenon at this point.
It was actually one of my first stories that I read, I believe, on Webtoons. So the fact that like I kind of just stuck it out for this long, just seeing where the story was gone and really being invested. And also like Let's Play, that's another one.
That one.
I really was just like, oh no, I want to see where this goes. So it definitely brings me back to when I would stay up all night reading different things. So it's nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
Just bring out that going back to like 14, 15, 16 on Wattpad, 4 in the morning, or reading those weird fan fictions.
Yeah.
Or like those rom-com mangas. It does bring, a lot of nostalgia. I'm also starting to read Midnight Poppyland on Webtoon, and that has been bringing a lot of those fluttery feelings too. So I do appreciate these creators sticking to this format. I think it's a good type of format too, since a lot of comics and animated shows and stuff like that are kind of like not a comeback, but it's just getting very popular, and it's easily to digest. I think this would be a great way for like younger generations to also get into mythology too, or really compelling stories like them.
Very much so. Well, all right, guys. Now that we wrapped up that chapter,